All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday live stream. For this one, I'm going to focus on a hobby, painting and assembling a Valkyrie, and also tabletop tactics with me playing 2 practice games, and also my reflections on that army list I've used. So let's get started with some hobbies. So I've been really enjoying painting a Valkyrie. Let's be very clear, Valkyries aren't an amazingly good unit right now, unfortunately, but they're actually amazing to paint. So certainly sort of going back to my old school sort of like painting of like World War II tanks. I used to do a fair bit of that, and also aircraft, because the Valkyrie, my favorite part so far definitely is doing the cabin. It's been absolutely amazing to sort of crack on with doing a cabin. And as you can see from the photos here, obviously got some amazing opportunity to get the detail really nice there. Now, doing the cabin actually was quite tricky. You've got to be super careful with the plastic glass and gluing the frame over, because obviously you can smudge it and basically spoil it forever. But I was quite lucky when I did that quite precisely. Definitely a trick I picked up from my old sort of World War II plane and tank painting days is you actually polish the inside of the plastic with like an earbud to basically make sure that you don't have any smudge marks on there as well. And it could be quite hard to see in the photo, but if you look at where the frame of the actual cabin is, the bit it runs across the middle is actually part of the plastic glass in inverted commas. So you actually got to tape the entire thing up and then spray paint it quite carefully. So definitely a lot of fun to get that perfect. But it's turning out quite nice. Maybe you'll be decent in 11th edition. Maybe it might be good when the new codex comes out. But also it was super fun to do. Also the troop compartment. I've gone all out here. So yeah, the one thing to say is I'm going to actually attach an LED light in there. So I bought a 5 centimeter long one. And I'm going to do it in red because in aircraft you'd really ever have white lights inside. So it may detract from some of the look and feel of the model, but I've given it a fair bit of love, painting all the interior detail. And I think what was just easy to do was just dry brush the entire thing with Eshin Grey and then pick out like the lighting detail to sort of make it pop. Now, obviously, when the roof's on top, you're not going to see as much, but still it's going to be super cool when the lights that are lit up to have particularly this guy who's going to be steering at the back. I've actually kit bashed his arms using bits from the Lemon Rust Tank Commander, and also I think it's from the Basilisk old school commander of his armor to basically show him looking at the back holding onto an ammo box. So that is going to be super fun when it's done, albeit quite a long and lengthy process, which is obviously great fun to do. Cool. So now on to tactics. So before I get into actual my games, I want to sort of rehash on the meta, how Astra Militarum is going. And still, the guards still are doing very, very well. So again, Goonhammer, fantastic resource to basically pick up on how Astra Militarum is performing. And you can see that in this tournament, El Bunker Baggio Open, a 76-person 6-round GT in Santiago, somewhere in Mexico. So 76 plays certainly is a decent sized tournament, definitely a GT. And you can see a gentleman here called Xavier Barbara came first, which is freaking amazing. So let's have a look at his list. And this is the first time seeing this. So interestingly, you can see he's got a bit of humor here, which is good of him. He said, I've copied John Lennon again, and John Lennon is one of the Art of War guys, probably one of the best players in the world, definitely for guard. And you can see what has he got. So he's got Lord Solar, Militarum Tempestus Command Squad, with Grand Strategist for the Double Order, Platoon Command Squad. Okay, and then it is 1, 2, 3, 3 Jungle Fighters, 2 Chimeras for the Scout move with the Jungle Fighters, 6-man, 3x6-man Bulgrim Squad. Okay, pretty tasty there. Cyclops Demolition Vehicle, which I'm guessing is just rounding out points at 25 points. 2 Hellhounds, 2 Rogal Dawns, and 1 Tempestus Scion Squad big blob and 1 small blob. So yeah, certainly a lot of stuff we're sort of starting to expect now. So Tempestus Scions, Bulgrims, Rogal Dawns. But where Xavier, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly, sort of showed his flair is the use of 2 Hellhounds. And then probably 3 Jungle Fighters with the double Chimera for the Scout move. Now this, I think we are seeing some themes, some really consistent themes. Lord Solar is definitely obvious. Platoon command squad attached with some jungle fighters is consistent for the 24-inch order range. The Militarum Tempestus with Grand Strategist is interesting. Oh, an interesting detail here as well is he's given the Tempesta Prime the command rod as well, which means that he can give himself or his squad double orders. So obviously attached to the 10-man squad, you've got sustained hits, you've got full rerolls against targets on the objective, you've then got double orders, so front rank fire, second rank fire, and they probably also take aim, so hitting on twos, full rerolls with rapid fire plasma, rapid fire hotshot volley guns and las guns. You're getting a lot of DACA out. Now, I've tried this in one of my practice games, and I'll definitely give my thoughts here, but certainly it's seeing a lot of use here. And then the way to think about this list is that it's got, so Militarum, 2 scout units, so chimeras with the dudes inside, that's a scout move, that's early game presence. It's then going to be, okay, 3x6 Bulgrim, and then you've got heavy hitters coming in the sense of Rogal Dawns, 2 Hellhounds to strip cover, so they're going to be early game, because obviously a 2+ save on them is very, very good on 115 points. And then obviously the Tempestus Scions, 15-man blobbers heavy hitting, with the 5-man squad simply for some mission play. So obviously a fantastic performance by this gentleman in Mexico. And again, we're seeing some themes, but you're seeing some sort of like individual flair coming through with different styles around the edges of what they've been doing. Yeah, so hello everyone. So take a poo now. Not today. My daughter did twice this morning though. So hello everyone. Nice to see you all. Cool. So what's next is then there's another person who came fourth in this same tournament, Roberto Ernesto, with combined regiment, of course. Let's have a look. So this gentleman came fourth. So what's he got? It's got Cadian Command Squad on Lord Solar. Okay, cool. And it's got the Grand Strategist enhancement with the Cadian Command Squad. Okay, it's in one Cadian Command Squad, one Cadian squad, and a single Jungle Fighters in a Chimera for scout move. It's an Armored Sentinels, 2x6 Bulgrim, a Cyclops Demolition Vehicle, probably for rounding of points, some Kazkin. That's one Exterminator Auto Cannon Limb and Rust, 2 Vanquishers, 2 Rogal Dawns, a Scout Sentinel, and a 5-man Scion squad. So again, some consistencies. Seems like Scions are consistent, Bulgrims are consistent, obviously. Lord Solar, Jungle Fighters ×1 at least, with the Scout move Chimera. And then where the flair is coming through is obviously 2 Vanquishers and Exterminator Lehman Russ. So obviously the Vanquishers in this case are probably acting as the early game throwaway unit, 145 points for Lehman Russ chassis. It's fantastic. So they just get in the way of things and clog things up. Kazkin probably are the target of the reinforcement stratagem. And then also is an Armored Sentinel, probably for early game as well. So certainly, again, some consistencies, but individual flares coming through, and you'll see my take on it in a moment. So fantastic performance again by this gentleman, coming fourth out of 76 players. Now, within the rest of the article, there are some more winners, winners or people who place very well. So let's have a look next. The next one that's mentioned is, okay, so then in this tournament here, this was 5-round tournament, 54 players in South Africa, which is awesome to hear. The South Africans are getting into 40K. So it looks like here, David, a gentleman called David Homler, triple jaw with lots of infantry to skirmish and 2 Taught-Up Scion units to drop. Okay, consistency coming through. We've then got Double Dawn with Bulgrim Brick again, and this is by Sam Wong. So Sam was playing in a tournament in, where is this? New Zealand. 40 players in New Zealand. Wow, this is really actually very interesting to see the different countries in the world getting into 40K. New Zealand and South Africa. And then we've got here, so a 28 player 5-round GT in Finland. Okay, fantastic. So I'm not going to mispronounce this person's name because I'm going to butcher that. But they came first of 28 players. Let's check out their list. I'm going to kill some of these ads. Okay, so Lord Solar. Okay, Militarum Tempestus Command Squad with Grand Strategist. Platoon Command Squad. Okay, 2 Tank Commanders. Okay, it's different. 3 jungle fighters, 2 chimeras for the scout move, a blob of armored sentinels ×3, and I've tried that, and I'll give my perspective on that. Okay, 3 Bulgrim blobs, okay, of 6 each. So then you've got to basically think it's 1, 2, 3 things which are impossible to kill, and then add on a third one, a fourth one being the armored sentinels. It's then 2 hellhounds, okay, and that's it. Interesting. And then a 5-man Scion squad for mission play. So what we don't have here, obviously, is the double dawn combination, instead substituted by the tank commanders with hellhounds to trip cover, and then 4 things to stand there and not die for a couple of rounds, which is armored sentinels and bulgrims, scout move chimeras, and some jungle fighters to play the early game. So very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, no double dawns in this case, which means you probably won't face as much problems with moving around the tabletop as you do with double dawns, because they get stuck in everything. But certainly interesting. Okay, so yeah, again, it's pretty consistent. We're seeing Bulgrims used a lot. Hellhounds in this instance have been used a lot. Scions, obviously, for mission play or damage dealing. So very, very interesting. Now, so how did I go? So firstly, the lists I use. Let's look at the actual list. Now, you're going to see, again, I've been basically tuning the edges of these lists because I have been relatively happy with the overall structure of the list, but just around the edges, I've been sort of playing with things. So the first game, I played against my battle brother, Adam King, who plays Black Templars, and you can see the list game 1 here. So Lord Solar, Platoon Command Squad with Mortar, Grand Strategist, Kalidas Assassin, and Tempestus Command Squad with all the tools, all the extra DACA. It's then 2 jungle fighters, an infantry squad, which attaches to Lord Solar and the Platoon Command Squad, Chimera for jungle fighters, 6 Bulgrims and 2x3 Bulgrims, Earthshade Carriage Battery, and 10 Scions attached to the Super Command Squads of all the DACA. It's then a Libyan Rust battle tank, Exterminator Libyan Rust, and 2 Rogal Dawns. Now, how did this go? So I've been playing Adam for ages. We've been playing a lot because we're both new dads with young children, so we play a lot on TTS. And certainly this was a game I found actually quite tough. So this map here, and it's Burden of Trust, where basically a unit has to survive from your command phase until the end of your opponent's turn to score 2 points. And you can see the layout here is typical of UKTC being quite tight. Now, the deployment here is quite small. Obviously, it's fitting a Rogal Dawn here is quite tough, and we actually found out that a Rogal Dawn just fits through this gap here. It doesn't fit through that gap there. So that was, you kind of isolated where you can put your Rogal Dawns. So I basically put the 2 Rogal Dawns, one here and one there, and then I basically fed stuff over here. So this game, I had the 15-man Scion squad, and I actually really struggled to use it effectively. Adam was playing a pretty balanced list of 2 Predator Annihilators, 2 Dreadnoughts, and then he's got, I think, is it 2 Impulsives with dudes inside, and then he's got a massive brick of Terminators, 4 wounds each, with a 5+ Feel No Pain and a 4+ Invul save, which I just simply can never kill. Now, with their Teleport Homer, he placed that basically here early game, and I tried to control the reinforcement or deep strike of them. So I think it was in turn 2, I basically plonked in 15 Scions here and split fire to kill a single Predator Annihilator on 3 wounds and pick on some Dreadnoughts that were basically perched on this objective here. Now, this is where it was quite interesting to sort of experience their ability, because that Predator was touching this objective here, so it got full reroll. So I basically put all the plasma into the Predator here and everything else into the Dreadnoughts here. So over those 15 models shooting, I basically didn't finish off those 3 wounds from that Predator, and I basically picked off, I think, like 4 wounds off a Dreadnought. Now, these were not the right targets for this application of fire, because obviously you don't get lethal hits against vehicles. You're going to get it against other infantry. But what I really felt I struggled with here in the overall game, which I lost when we get to it, is I'm an MSU player, and I struggle to to properly use such a big blob of firepower. Because at this point in the game, Adam had nothing out of his transports. Everything that was an infantry target was hidden behind cover or was screened out. And I used this in turn 2, and I went first. So I was very aggressive with this unit. But my thought process was basically to give him something to think about before he pushes onto my objective. Now, he then deep striked his basically big blob of Terminators over here somewhere, and they eventually forced their way around here and met a squad of Bolgrams of 6 and also 3 over here, and basically spent the entire game just whacking each other, which they couldn't actually get through, which was very interesting to see. Now, the Earthshade Carriage Battery was definitely something that I continued to use. But having spoken to Adam, we've been discussing a lot tactically about this type of thing, is that I think I need to let go of that, because there's 120 odd points to the back of the board, only hitting on 4s, ground units -2 to move. But I think removing that from the list, and we've seen from those lists I just reviewed, that artillery isn't a consistent thing that's used a lot out there. So yeah, so how did I basically go? You can see here I lost 60. Oh, that's the wrong game. It's actually here, apologies. 48 to 61. So a pretty low scoring game with both of us not actually scoring a load on the primary. And one thing here I was a bit annoyed at myself is not scoring anything in the first turn on the primary is not good enough in my mind, given I have loads of units. And what I think I missed out on here in the first game is not having a scout sentinel for that early game push, because I actually went second, or I went second, not first. Because I went second, I basically was a bit more. I had a scout, the Chimera down here, the scout moved Chimera, and actually I moved it back into terrain to sort of protect it from any lines of fire. Because actually the way we had it set up was actually could be shot from here, I think. So actually in the first turn, I couldn't actually go onto this objective. But if I had a scout sentinel, it moves 9. It's going to be safe with that big old move. So that was a bit of a annoying thing. But basically over the course of the game, I think, sorry, it's here again. Basically, yeah, I lost on the primary. Only just subtly though, Adam, I think. But I think, yeah, overall, what I struggled with was just a lack of lots of cheap units. Because we go back to the list, you can see it's a lot more concentrated than I'm used to. So 4 tanks, yep, granted. It's then, that's 1 unit, yeah. And then actually all I've really left to play with was 2 jungle fighter squads, 1 in a Chimera, and then Lord Solar stuck this massive blob of points, yeah. So, you all know this, but you basically got, 245 points of dudes out of the back of the board. And I did push them forward to try and get in the game, but I just felt in this list I didn't have enough stuff. Now the Kalidas Assassin, I binned it straight away because I'm not good enough to use that model. Come up, come down. I used it once and then it got shot to death by Adam's Space Marine scouts who dropped in and basically shot it off the board. So I'm not a big fan of it personally. I know Lord of Deceit is very powerful if used correctly, but it doesn't work with my brain, in inverted commas. So that's a model that I've dropped. So the next game is against Custodes, against a bloke I know called James, who's a very good Custodes player, and certainly we'll see how that fared. So you can see some subtle changes as I've dropped the Earthshade Carriage Battery. Now instead I've got Lord Solar, an Akkadian command squad attached to some Akkadians. Okay, so you've got objective sticky there with Akkadian shock troops. And then I'd never think this will ever come up, but you can obviously ignore modifiers to hit with the Akkadian command squad rule. So yeah, the thing about that, and if you've got any perspectives on the, please put it in the comments, is that their ability is pretty niche. If you could attach them to say Kazrakan, you could probably do some damage, but -1 to the modifier for hit rolls. I'm not sure how often that comes up when you've got those guys. Now against stealth units, yes. Against maybe smoke, if someone's got pop smoke, that could definitely work. But I'm not sure the Akkadian, that's a good thing. But anyway, so I've got that. It's then do 2 Akkadian shock in a Chimera. It's then basically everything else is the same except for the Bolgrams, 6 and 2 and 3. To pesticide to split apart. Then 3 armored sentinels. And this is something Adam thought I should try out, given obviously you reinforce that 195 points back in the bank. So I was playing Custodes, and the mission we played was on this, I don't know what you call this deployment, but it's obviously the weird one, and Terraform, where if you complete an action on an objective, you score 2 points for the rest of the game, every single turn. So you can basically, if you do it early, you can just dominate your opponent. Yeah. So imagine if you terraform both of these by turn 2, you're scoring loads over the course of the game. You can basically win it, but just on that, in inverted commas. Now, James took infantry spam custodies. He had 2x3 Venatari flyboys. He then had 2 bricks of wardens. He then had some flaming ladies, the sisters of silence, to hold the home objective. He then had multiple bricks of, I think he had 2 bricks, maybe 3 bricks of guardians, one with a captain and one with the hero dude, the guy with the laurels on his head, who basically makes them -1 AP and melee. Now in this game, I felt like I had enough stuff, but I basically lost the game. Again, I lost the game, but I know exactly what I lost. And this, I think, is something that maybe some of you can take a bit of learning from, because I've learned from this, is that if I'm not 100% in the game, I will lose the game. Now this sounds silly, but like I need to be really, and this is maybe reflecting on my overall intelligence, is that I need to be in the game. And something I think I need to basically have ready for LGT, which is next weekend, is to have basically a copy of the actual secondary objective cards. I'm going to probably either print them or borrow my friend Adam's cards, because I lost this game because I didn't remember what my secondaries were. So that is as simple as it gets. Now, the overall structure of the game, basically the Rogue will Dawn here. I then had a Scout Move Chimera here, which is supported by 3 Bulgrams. It sends 6 Bulgrams across the center. A Scout Move Chimera on the left, and then the Lehman Russ is basically sitting on the left-hand side and also the center. Now, basically, the first turn I pulled no prisoners, so that's terrible, and then containment. So do object actions 9 inches away from the board edge. And then I basically tried to go all in and basically terraform as soon as I can. So we agreed, me and James, that to hold the left objective when you're on the left-hand side, you have to be chargeable. So basically drove up a Chimera, basically parked it on that objective. Now, I'm not sure if that's actually correct. I'm pretty sure you can actually hold that by being an inch off the wall, but we'll have to clarify that for LGT. Anyway, so put a Chimera on the left-hand side. I then drove a Chimera again, touching that objective on the bottom right, and started terraforming on those objectives. And then I basically pushed up the Armored Sentinel blob just off the center objective. So pretty aggressive pushing stuff up, and I basically had tanks all moved up as well. Now in response, understandably, James basically went for it. He charged forward some wardens with the Emperor's Champion onto this objective, and then basically charged into the Chimera and blew it up, obviously, as you can imagine. Here, he got super lucky on the right side and basically advanced some Guardians. Exactly, I think got a 6-inch advance roll to basically push him onto his objective and out OC me on this right-hand side. So basically, the terraform plan I'd gone for had just disappeared, gone up in smoke. But what it did mean, and he also actually, because I had the Armored Sentinels here, he also charged on his Terminators. He had a blob of 3 Terminator, and the thing about them is you can pick them up and drop them down once per game. So at this point, I lost a Chimera. I think I lost 1 Armored Sentinel, and then basically he was actually holding 2 objectives at the beginning of my turn 2. So my turn 2, I basically didn't score any primary except on my home objective. What it did mean, I had a load of his stuff out in the open. I could start to sort of kill his stuff. So understandably, you popped his 4+ fill no pan on the wardens on the wardens on the left-hand side, and then I basically drove up a Rogal Dawn up the center, and actually had the other Rogal Dawn and reinforcements, and that came in in this gap here, so basically on the right-hand side, and also pushed up a Lehman Russ and basically smacked him with everything. So those Terminators disappeared. Actually, I think one was left on a wound, so I had to basically charge forward the 6 Bulgrams, and then he actually heroically intervened with some Guardians onto the center objective, and basically had a punch up for the rest of the game. But basically, the Wardens with their 4+ fill no pan, I basically blew up. I think he was down to 3 models, including the Emperor's Champion. But basically, I took that objective off him. And this one he started to hold. And this one I basically managed by debussing some jungle fighters and putting him in a neat little row exactly an inch away from the wall. So at least he had to go round to try and chase them. So at this point, it was actually even. And the key point which I missed is in turn 1, I drew containment and no prisoners. Now, no prisoners is turn 1, but containment is cash money. However, I basically realized after I had finished my turn, and good thing it's a practice game, I know James quite well, is that I basically completely forgot containment. So I could have contained with some Bolgrams over here, but I advanced them. I could have contained over here, but I basically had advanced the Leman Russ. I had put the Chimera there. So what I agree with James is like, mate, just let me debus the Catagens and they can contain over here. So they could contain in turn 1, but only scoring 3 of a potential 6 in turn 1 is awful because you want to get as much advantage as possible early doors, particularly if you go first. Yeah, because I went first in this game. No, over the course of the game, basically, we traded blows. We basically went backwards and forwards. And I think at the end of the game, we actually had the equal amount of points left on the board. I blew up a lot of his stuff, actually. Now, having the 2 Tempestus Scion squads, definitely I felt a bit more comfortable. I did think I wasted 1 squad because in turn 2, I dropped him in here to basically apply fire on them. And then he basically picked up he had a Kalidas Assassin and Eversaur Assassin. The Kalidas came down and basically toasted all these dudes with its anti-infantry flamer. So a bit of a waste there. But having the second squad of them, and also I had the extra jungle fighters, which I reinforced, meant I could actually do a lot of stuff in his backfield late game, and that gave me a lot of secondary scoring. Now, the Armored Sentinels, I think I just misused them, and James is a very, very good player, and he knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to reinforce them. So basically, he played it masterfully, where he basically ignored them, let them move around and get in the way. They basically just, after they had got punched up by the Terminators and then also the Wardens, the Guardian dudes, I basically moved one up here to sort of bait him into thinking we're going to go for his home objective. And I almost did, but then, and I didn't know this, is that the girls with the flamers, they flamed it and then they forced a battle shock test, and I failed the battle shock test. So there goes that plan, which is quite annoying. But yeah, then I ended up reinforcing the jungle fighters. And at the end of it, I basically had as many points as he did. But unfortunately, this is super annoying as I lost this one as well. So if you look at, oops, sorry, wrong one. Here we are. Is this one 66 or 74? So I could have actually won this, and I know exactly where I went wrong. So as I said, containment. I'll zoom in so you can actually see it. Containment. I scored 3. I should have scored 6. Easy. So it would have been on 69. Now recover assets. I scored 0, but I probably could have actually got that. Yeah, because that requires you to basically do an action in your home in your deployment zone and in either your opponent's deployment zone and or no man's land. Now, I could have done it with Lord Solar's blob. I forgot about doing that. I could have done it with some Tempestus Science. Forgot about them. Or I could have done it with just like a tank sitting in the no man's land as well. So that could have been 3. Let's just say 3.6. That would have been 69. And then something I've definitely learned from other games, and again I just forgot, is that no prisoners. He got that last turn. Now, how do you score 5 on that? Basically, he had 1 jungle fighter to kill, 1 Bolgram to kill, another Bolgram to kill. Yeah, so actually in that last turn, I should have looked at the cards he had to go and go, he's got no prisoners. I need to suicide some dudes, because I could have simply charged that jungle fighter into some Guardians and likewise the Bolgrams, and they would have instantly died and probably have left him with only 1 unit to kill. So that means I would have been on 60, I would have been on 72, 72 at least. And James would have been on 72 as well, actually. So I wouldn't have won, but I would have drawn it. Yeah. So, like things that was super annoying because containment I should have been on 6, an extra 3. Recover assets would have been at least 3. That's another 7 at 72. And then also because he went second, he scored big in the last turn. So I think also I mismanaged my resources. The Armored Sentinels, I felt like I didn't use them effectively, but I was annoyed at this loss because nothing against James, he's a great guy. But I annoyed that I basically gave this away. And as I said before, I don't think I was 100% in the game. Obviously, this was after a full day of work, so I was a bit tired, blah, blah, blah. And also not having the secondary objective cards genuinely I think was a massive miss, because if I'd had those, I could literally gone on my tabletop and gone, yep, got to do that, because I'm a simple man. So bummed by that, but against Adam, I think my actual win rate against you, Adam, is like 30%. And I think certainly there'll be players out there we just can't beat. And Adam's one of them. Another guy I know who plays Tau, actually, Lewis Smith, he basically places in Super GTs like third or fourth. Never beat him. But the other way to sort of think about it is that, you will learn more playing into better players and players you can sort of pull their pants down in inverted commas in the most polite sense, you know what I mean? So I know I didn't get the win, particularly against James, because I don't know what a meta custodies list was, but actually this probably is because it was just bodies. There were no vehicles. It was all bodies, and obviously 4+ save bodies, invul saves, or 4+ invul saves. So you just flip a coin and kill it. So that had me reflecting, and actually the LGT list submission is tonight at exactly 23:59, which is like 2 hours from now. So what have I gone with out of all of this? Yep. Hey, Arizona. Hey, man. Nice to see you, Ghost 9 p.m. And thank you for all the stuff we've been talking about. It's been super nice to sort of hear your perspective. So, Ghost 9 p.m. from Arizona. This is what I decided to go with for LGT, which is actually 940 players or something, which is wild. Which is this weekend. So this is the list. I can change it if you really, really convince me, but I don't think you can because I'm very comfortable where I am now. So, Lord Solar with attached to Caddy and command score to some Caddy and friends. Now, this thinking here, which I failed to say in the previous game, is that because their objective's sticky, that means you could sticky your home objective and push them up turn 3. Yeah. So once all the threat of deep strike or reinforcements is potentially gone, if it is gone, if it's still there, you can't do this, is that you can hold your home objective with Lord Solar's command squad blob, yeah, with Cadians and co. So that is the thinking there. They can actually get up turn 3 and start to get in the fight and actually do stuff as opposed to soaking up 250 points doing nothing. 3 jungle fighters, one of which will be in a Chimera. Okay, so we've looked at the other lists, and basically the people who won tournaments typically have these guys just in Chimeras. Now, I've only got 1 Chimera, but this makes me feel comfortable. Now, this is what I feel comfortable with. I need loads of chaff. I want loads of stuff to play the game early. I think this list has got enough teeth to basically give people a bit of a slap around. Maybe not as much as some of the other lists we've previewed, but I need more chaff. I want loads of stuff for the entire game. I want to be in turn 5 with like 6 units left because it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside because I can score loads. So loads of dudes, 3 jungle fighters, obviously the Cadian command squad attached to them. So that already, if you sort of verbalize it there, that is 4 units with a Chimera. So Chimera for the scout move, and I'm going to jump ahead, is a scout sentinel. So that's 2 scout moves I've got. Vehicles, I've then got 2 more if I want to go all out. It's then 6 Bolgrams, 2x3. I did think about going 2 squads of 6 Bolgrams, but again, I look, it's like 6 Bolgrams can do the same. You can do the same thing with 2 squads of 3. Obviously, you just charge them into the same thing, and that's 2 units to split attacks across. And there's no mathematical difference if they do that, but it's 2 activations they've got to go into. You could interrupt one of those if you want to, if you've got 2x3 as opposed to 6. But then obviously you could debate, Jeff, take 2x6 Bolgrams and 1x3. But I personally think this is fine for my play style, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside again. It's then 2x5 Tempestus Scions. So these guys are fantastic. I'm just checking the chat. Yeah, Tuscan myself. Also in Arizona. Oh, nice. We got some people in the same parts of the US, which is fantastic to see. Some fellow battle brothers or sisters, maybe, in the US. All right, next is then an interesting inclusion is the Kazkin. So I think 110 points, they feel for me like a really good reinforcement candidate, 110 points. And then the way I'm thinking about this is then they form an alternative plan to the Scions, because the Scions for me are purely about deep strike for mission play. But Kazkin can apply fire and take, clear pretty much most things off an objective, because obviously they're given souls an order, obviously, when they arrive. So that is almost, maybe almost as good. Actually, it is. So if you give them take home, they're hitting on 2s, hitting on 2s is as good mathematically as 4 rerolls, but hitting on 3s with scions. So that kind of makes sense. And then obviously they've actually got more DACA. Have they got more? 2 melters, 2 plasma, plasma pistol. But then the melter mine is obviously mortal wounds, and mortal wounds is fantastic. So that's a new inclusion, and I'm quite comfortable using Kazkin. And then and even then, like depending on how the game looks on the when I come into them, is that they could scout move in the Chimera and play the early skirmish that game and get killed, and then reinforce, and then come in and threaten the home objective late game. Then you can see, as I said, so it's a Scout Sentinel, and it is 1 Armored Sentinel. Because I do think, yeah, thank you, 9 p.m. Yeah, thank you. I do think 1 Armored Sentinel will help me play the early skirmish game. So the Scout, obviously, okay, Scout Sentinel, Chimera, Scout moves. You've then got the option of Scout moving even more, but let's be honest, you're probably not going to Scout move Jungle Fighters. Well, maybe you will actually if you go first. But then follow-up wave of sort of getting in the way of your opponent will be an Armored Sentinel. Then maybe the 2x3. And obviously you're just positioning your Rogue War Dawns and Limb Russes to apply fire with then the 6-man Bulgrim squad to obviously try and seal the deal late game, potentially. And obviously then the final wave will be Lord Solar and co. With these Jungle Fighters to play the skirmish game as well. So I feel very comfortable with this list. Now, a good joke me and Adam said is that just because what you've used in the past makes you feel good doesn't mean it's going to win you games or be more successful. And you can think about that from a career point of view, getting more professional. It's the same thing. Just because you've done the same thing, you got to where you are. Anyway, you know what I mean. So this is I feel this is a good balance of skirmish units and some teeth. Is it as nasty as some of the previous lists we just previewed or reviewed? I don't think it does. It's got heavy hitters, heavy hitter, and then maybe Kazkin are heavy hitters. You could argue into infantry, and then beyond that, it's loads of nonsense. I actually called this list in the app "Lots of Nonsense" because it is lots of nonsense, which is my style. So that's it. So practice games. I'm playing Black Templars tomorrow. Actually, a different gentleman, not Adam, but that should be good. And I'll probably try and get in one more game against maybe Tau on Wednesday or Thursday against another guy I know, Robert as well. So that's the list. Let's check the comments if anybody's got any firm perspectives. Ghost 9 p.m. Oh dear. Now, Ghost 9 p.m. in the chat has said, I'd swap the Armored Sentinel for Sly Marbo. I can see the argument for running 1x3 Armored Sentinels for a good reinforcement target and probably feel a little underwhelming. Yes. Now, yeah, and that's a good point. So I think Sentinels overall, or second Scout Sentinel, Ghost 9 p.m. in Arizona is saying, to replace the Armored Sentinel. That's definitely, because that's the thing with Sentinels is like, I know they get super lethals in the sense they can roll hits. They get lethals against everything, vehicles or infantry or everything else. But the thing is, their weapons are crap. Yeah, overall. I mean, I typically just go with las cannons because I want to basically ensure that the one hit that does hit actually does something. But plasma cannons, I mean, they're not all right. They're okay. But then beyond that, when you got missile launchers, they're terrible. They're a jack of all trades, master of one. Auto cannons, AP1, you're like, and then flamers are just a waste. So I think that it's like, obviously, Armored Sentinels and Scout Sentinels don't do any damage output. So with that perspective, I think it probably is a good shout to have 2 Scout Sentinels because at least then they are driving synergies with a wider list, yeah, as opposed to the Armored Sentinel, which just is annoying to deal with. So that's a good, I'm going to stew on that. I think it's a good one. Obviously, I can afford it within the cost of the list. I'll just drop it down, and that probably is it's trading durability for synergies. And the funny thing is, actually, this list is looking more and more like it did before I went on this journey of sharing it all with you out in YouTube land on my thinking on an approach to basically building this list. So yeah, that's probably going to be it. Just to call it again is don't forget there is a bloke who's called Cadian Shock. He's active on Instagram. He's done a cool app called Adept Roll. Adept as in like ADEPT, Adept Roll, which basically is fantastic for Mathammer. And one call out I would also make is I did recently a video about Overwatch. So I call it the Art of Overwatch. Do check it out. I released it on, I think, Friday night. But definitely, again, a lot of practice games I've had, and talking a lot with Adam King, my battle brother, is that Overwatch is certainly a stratagem. If you're new, you could all flat out avoid, because it's a trap. But I do think there's a lot of use cases for it. And definitely as a shooting army that's got lethal hits, there are numerous use cases. So do check out that as well. But yeah, so I think I'm going to change that Scout Sentinel, because this gentleman in Arizona has given me more and more advice, which is fantastic. But thanks for joining me. If you've just joined the chat, I also spoke about I'm painting a Valkyrie, and they're not great in the meta, but they're awesome to paint. I'm really enjoying painting the cabin, and I'll definitely do like a showcase video talking about sort of the more advanced aspects of painting this, because definitely I think I said at the start is that when you glue together the cabin, you need to be super careful with the plastic glass, because if you smear it with the glue, you obviously spoil it. And then I actually you should also polish the inside of the glass before you put it down with an earbud to give it a nice clear finish as well. And also parts of this, you have to actually spray paint it. So I had to tape the entire thing on hobby tape. And then also, again, you might have seen it if you joined early, but I've got the Valkyrie on the interior. So I've gone all out. I've actually bought an LED kit. It's going to be red though, red LED lights, and basically put it in there. So you probably won't see all the detail, but it just feels like a massive shame to close this thing up. I'm going to have to, obviously, but I think the lights will help. I've gone all out. I think I sort of went a bit basic. I just painted it black and then dry brushed it with an Escher grey, and then picked out all the detail, and including this gentleman his arm looks a bit weird actually, but that arm is taken from the Basilisk kit. We got the commander guy with his arm like that, and the idea is that he's kind of poorly grabbing onto this this case of ammunition. He's holding onto the top struts as well. So when it's all closed up with a red light, it should look quite nice. And of course, we got this bloke here looking pretty mean as well. So really enjoying painting the Valkyrie. It's a massive model. I don't know how I'm going to transport it if I ever do the tournaments, but hopefully gets a boost when the new codex comes out, or in 11th edition in 2026, maybe. Who knows? So thanks for joining me. Super nice to see you all. Thanks for the commentary. He needs a comment for hanging out. Yeah, well, I was thinking of hanging like some dudes out of just like the rappelling out. But definitely my skills aren't that good when it comes to that Atomic Kit Bash. But lovely to see you. Well, thank you for joining. I'm going to do this every Sunday, so please log in if you want to, and we'll definitely keep chatting more. And actually, no. Next Sunday will be the end of LGT, so I may be too tired because I would have played. Oh, I'll see how I go. Because I would have just played 5 intensive games of 40k. Could be quite topical to get to bed and look after my daughter, but I may try. So wish me luck. Thanks to all the channel supporters. I really appreciate it, both those who are channel member on YouTube and also my Patreon. So really appreciate your support. But thanks again. I'll talk to you next time. All the best.